Hello everyone, welcome back to a new session in metabolism. In this presentation, we'll be looking into the beta oxidation of fatty acids. Fatty acids, it is produced by the hydrolytic breakdown of lipids, which on hydrolysis or breakdown, it gives fatty acids and glycerol, especially the triglycerides. We are speaking tri, di or monoglycerides. When it is broken down, it releases the fatty acids and glycerol. These enter the circulation medium and reaches the cells, right? And the main pathway of fatty acid oxidation in the cells, it is beta oxidation. There are different types which are named alpha, beta, gamma, but the beta oxidation is the major pathway for the fatty acid oxidation in the cells. The oxidation of fatty acids, it was first studied by Knoop in 1904, and later it was Leinen and his co-workers in 1954 who studied the major enzymatic pathways of the beta oxidation specifically. Okay, and hence the beta oxidation of fatty acid, it is otherwise referred as Knoop-Leinen cycle. This particular oxidative pathway, it occurs in all the tissues except brain, erythrocytes, adrenal medulla, and in these tissues it takes place in the mitochondrial matrix. So here you can see the major ATP production takes place in the respiratory chain or electron transport chain. Okay, and this is the final energy producing pathway which occurs in the mitochondria, and the various molecules or substrates required for the running of these electron transport chain, they are being produced through glycolysis Krebs cycle pathway as well as beta oxidation pathway. Okay, so you can see beta oxidation pathway, it is a very major contributor to the ATP production. Now we'll see what happens here. So the beta oxidation, it's takes place inside the mitochondria because the major enzymes required for the the oxidation, it is found inside the mitochondrial matrix. But fatty acids, they reach the cell and it gets into it is present in the cytoplasm. Okay, they are actually synthesized in the cytoplasm. Fatty acids are present in the cytoplasm. So it has to be taken, the fatty acids have to be taken from the cytoplasm. So this is the cytoplasm and this is the mitochondria and this is the mitochondrial membrane. Okay, so the outer mitochondrial membrane, the inner mitochondrial membrane, we are speaking about this one. Okay, the outer mitochondrial membrane, the inner mitochondrial membrane, and the space inside it is filled with mitochondrial matrix. So the enzymes are present in the mitochondrial matrix while the fatty acid is present in the cytoplasm. Okay, so fatty acid is present over here. This fatty acid has to be transported through the mitochondrial membrane and it has to be taken to matrix where it is going to enter the beta oxidation pathway. Okay, so this is how it happens. Now, what is beta oxidation specifically? Now, when you speak about beta oxidation, it may be defined as the oxidation of fatty acids on the beta carbon atom of the fatty acid. Okay, so beta carbon or beta position of this one, it is actually yeah, we can see here. Okay, we'll see in the when it comes to over there the beta oxidation proper. Okay, so it is successive separation. Beta oxidation, if we define, it is actually the successive removal of two carbon units in the form of acetyl coenzyme A starting from the carboxyl end of the fatty acyl chain. Okay, so this involves separation of two carbon units from a fatty acid chain in the form of acetyl coenzyme A, and the whole process starts from the carboxyl end of the fatty acid chain. Okay, so this is what is actually basic crux of beta oxidation of fatty acids. But as already mentioned, fatty acid is present in the cytoplasm and it has to be transported to the mitochondria for taking up the beta oxidation proper, isn't it? So as such, the process takes place in three stages. It has to be fatty acid as such, it cannot be transported into the mitochondrial matrix. The fatty acids of chain length 12 or fewer or lesser, it can enter the mitochondria without any help. It can just pass through the membrane and it can reach the mitochondrial matrix. It doesn't need any mitochondrial transporter. But those fatty acid chains which contain 14 or more carbon atoms, they cannot pass the mitochondrial membrane as such without the help of any transporter molecules. And these the free fatty acids which are produced as a result of the lipid breakdown, they are mostly of 14 or more fatty acids with more than 14 carbon atoms. Okay, so they need to transported from the cytoplasm to the mitochondrial matrix, and for this transport they need special transporter molecules, carnitine transporter molecules. Okay, so this is how the three stages have been recognized. Because the carnitine, it cannot take up directly the fatty acid molecules, it has to be get activated. So those fatty acids which are to be transported and which have to enter the beta oxidation proper, it has to get activated. Okay, and this takes place inside the cytoplasm. So here the step, it shows the activation of fatty acids. The fatty acid, it gets converted into fatty acyl coenzyme A, and that is what is referred as the activation, and it occurs in the cytoplasm. Okay, and this activated fatty acid, it is getting transported into mitochondria through Carnitine shuttle. That is the second stage. And once it reaches the mitochondrial matrix, the exact beta oxidation proper, it takes place in the mitochondrial matrix with the help of the enzymes present in there. Okay, the beta oxidation. So these three stages: activation of fatty acid, transport of fatty acid through the Carnitine shuttle, and then the beta oxidation proper. So we will be discussing the beta oxidation under these three steps. The first is activation of fatty acid. So as already mentioned, activation of fatty acid involves conversion of fatty acid into fatty acyl coenzyme A, and the whole process, it is catalyzed by fatty acyl coenzyme A synthetase, or it is otherwise known as thiokinase. Okay, and it also require the what you call the ATP, the presence of ATP. Okay, now what happens during this? The whole activation of fatty acid, it takes place in under two steps. Okay, the first one over here you can see this requires ATP, right? So here you can see the ATP, and this is the fatty acid, right? So during this process, what happens is the carboxylate ion, that is over here, the COO minus, it gets adenylated by ATP. Okay, you can see what happens over here. Okay, so this is the fatty acid, right? And this is the monophosphate. Okay, adenosine monophosphate. Okay, so and during this process, what happens? The pyrophosphate is released. There is a break over here, right? And it is released as pyrophosphate. Okay, so we get the carboxylate unit, it gets adenylated to form fatty acyl adenylate, and during this process pyrophosphate is released, and this pyrophosphate, it is immediately hydrolyzed to produce two inorganic phosphates. Okay, now what happens to fatty acyl adenylate? It is adenylate molecule. Okay, and this, it gets acted upon by coenzyme A. Okay, fatty acyl adenylate, it gets acted upon by coenzyme A. Okay, and it then gets converted into fatty acyl coenzyme A. And again, the same enzyme is actually catalyzing this reverse process as well. Okay, so here you can see the second step involves the thiol group of what you call the coenzyme A, that is SCOA, attacks the acyl adenylate. Acyl adenylate, in the sense fatty acyl adenylate, the whole molecule, displacing adenosine monophosphate and forming a thioester fatty acyl coenzyme A. Okay, so this is a thioester molecule, and specifically the fatty acyl coenzyme. I hope it is clear. Okay, so here what happens? Fatty acid, it gets fatty acid, it is getting reacted with ATP. During this process, we get an intermediate fatty acyl adenylate, which gets acted upon by the coenzyme A, and during this process, we get a fatty acyl coenzyme A. And during the whole process, ATP, it gets converted to AMP, and two inorganic phosphates are being produced as a result. So the net reaction, we can say, the fatty acid gives fatty acyl coenzyme A, During the process, a coenzyme A molecule is being utilized. At the same time, ATP is getting converted to AMP, and two inorganic phosphates are produced. The whole process is catalyzed by thiokinase enzyme or fatty acyl coenzyme A synthetase enzyme. The next step was Carnitine Shuttle. Okay, this is very important in the sense the fatty acyl coenzyme A, which is being produced in the cytoplasm, have to be transported to the mitochondrial matrix. Okay,